Today we have the prolific, the notorious Lyte Burly. Some love him, some hate him, but if you're 52, you know him. Lyte's been at it for a minute. There's stuff on the YouTube of him going back, 10 years at least. So he's hardly a Johnny come lately. Lyte, there?
Yep, I'm here.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I like the intro. I like the prolific and the notorious. I'd rather be notorious than infamous. I like the notorious.
Well, yes, it was Machiavelli that said it's better be loved than feared, but fear is more easily attained.
Very true. Very true. We're doing that right now.
But, so what's the origin story? Did you just grow up getting pushed around, and you decided that no, it wasn't going to happen anymore, or did you got an uncle that introduced you?
That would make the story sound better. I think if I had one of those stories, it may actually give it a better spin. But it was more of, fighting was my timeline. In the early '80s, fist fighting was big. Fist fighting was equivalent to how this generation holds on to weaponry. Fist fighting was the manly art. That's what you did. And during those times, fist fights were they were like, it was like going to the movies. And so knowing how to handle yourself with your hands was something you wanted to do, you trained to do. And if you had the right people around you, they kind of pushed you into it. And that was my thing. My cousins were all 52 block fighters, in the sense that, they really prided themselves in fist fighting. So, me going over there was, I was the little cousin getting beat on, and and they kind of made sure you knew something of fighting. Like, you went through the slap boxing era where, you had to slap box and try to pick up certain things through slap boxing. So that was it. During my time, they really tried to pass fighting down. Like, they really, were interested in if you knew how to fight, and the older brothers put time into it. So that's how I came about it. I watched the older brothers fight, and I guess I always was inclined to fight. I always liked the art of fighting and stuff. So I picked it up that way, and
you were going to be someone's sparring partner whether you wanted to be or not, I guess.
Oh, that's right. Oh, you didn't have a choice then. Like the stuff the older brothers did to us back then. If they did it nowadays, they probably get the cops called on them, because there's a weaker mindset. Back then, you couldn't say shit about it. You had to eat it, and if you wanted to learn more, you kept your mouth shut. You didn't just run off and crying to your parents or something about what the other older brothers were doing to you. So that was the mind frame, and we looked up to it. That was they were passing information on, so we kind of looked forward to it. But it wasn't easy. They weren't the best teachers, because so you got beat on a lot. Sometimes you may have not even picked up anything, but you got more durable. You were rougher. You got rougher. So that was my that's how I came into contact with 52, and where I seen it. Where I fell in love with it. Was watching the older brothers slap box and fight, and things they taught us.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I grew up in more of a honky-tonk type of environment. Okay. It was 35 to 40,000 people worth of drink, fornicate, and play cards. and it was
the Trinity.
Like you and me might scrap on the Friday, and we'd be drinking beers on the Saturday, right?
That's right. That's right.
It was a thing. Part of it was just about entertaining it. There's no shortage of people to egg it on either, usually.
Yes. No, you're so true. The brothers that fought, they went and bought 40s and drunk beers right after the fight. That was the whole thing. It wasn't like hold on to it. There was no run home to go get your gun or go get your stick. The winner won, the loser lost, and they, by like you said, if it wasn't that day, 2 days later, they were friends again. And that was the awesome thing about that time, is that even back then, cops wouldn't even stop fights. Like, they would let them go on. There was no such thing as going to jail for fist fighting. Now you go to jail for fist fighting. Like, fight somebody, go to jail. There was no jail for fist fighting. Like, you had to pull out knives and guns and go into a whole nother area for the cops to even get involved. they pulled up and watched. They were good fights.
Yeah,
So,
just keep it clean, and
yeah,
when
exactly.
it's done, and no one goes to jail. Yeah.
Right. That's right.
I remember there was an incident growing up. Some kid who wasn't from there uh, came and he got in a scrap, and so everyone's like, "Hey, there's a good fight, right?" The sacred circle formed, um, and kid pulled out a knife. Well, it was someone from the crowd that just earholed him, and then no, we don't do it like that here, right?
Yeah, we don't do it like that around here. That's right. That's
But
right.
she's different times now. Um, so I guess one of the biggest questions that people who are uninitiated will ask is, I mean, does a 52 even work, or are we just having a sign language fight?
Oh, well, I think that question goes deeper into arts, fighting arts themselves. It's like I think the real question would be what art works, and what art doesn't work. Then when you dive into that question, you can answer if 52 blocks works. My teacher had this saying, and it was um, who works, and question is you. The answer is you. No art works without you. So I don't believe in that question. Like that question is like to me is one of the asinine questions of ever. It's like, does the art work? It's like, I don't know. Does the art fight by itself? Maybe if 52 blocks did his thing by itself, we could answer that question. But since all arts are like parasites, you know, it needs a host body. So the question is, does the host body work? Do you work? And if you work, everything works. So, you know, I think that question is really a question that needs to be taken out the whole fight conversation because it's a trick question that no one can answer. Um, I kick ass with 52 blocks, yes, you know, but my work ethic outshines a lot of people's work ethic. I have the ability to train 6 hours a day. A normal man that probably goes to work, he couldn't do what I did. So if he was doing 52 and we were both doing 52, he's doing 52, I'm doing 52, we get into a fight, who wins? Me. Mathematically, it's easy. I got 6 hours out of my day. He may got a half an hour to train his 52. I'm doing 6. So he gets in the fight with me. I beat him up easily. And it's not because 52 works. It's because I'm working 6 hours out of day every day and using 52. So I don't know if 52 works. I know about people that work. So if you work, anything works. I think that would be a good answer for that question.
What I've seen lately, there's a very large trend to kind of poo-poo on some of the Asian systems, specifically kung fu. I'll talk about right or karate or something like that, and they're like, well, you know that it's fine, but like it's only good for fighting other folks that do that thing, and I mean maybe there's a little bit of specificity based on where it came out of, but it seemed like a lot of the techniques seem to be valid. I just from an outsider's perspective, it doesn't seem like they're being trained in a way to use it, right? If you're never experiencing any type of pressure, it's really hard to make that stuff work when you finally experience it. Don't let
Yes,
the first time you're doing it be the first time you had to do it, right?
that's right. Right. Yeah, yeah. That's one way. And like I said, the techniques are good. Fundamentals are better. Balance, power, coordination, agility, all of those things trump technique because you don't even know if your situation will fit the technique you're training. You could be a high level boxer and get taken to the ground. So does that mean your boxing doesn't work? And it's like, no, it just means you're outside the element of your what you train. So that's why MMA is so broad and so good because it covers a lot of the questions of real time situations. You may be kicked, you may be choked, you may be punched, you may be elbowed. So if you're an MMA fighter and you get into one of those fights, you'll be a little bit more comfortable than someone who's just a boxer or just a wrestler or something. So, like I said, I think technique goes into work ethic. I believe duck style can work if you met the man who did duck style since the time he slid out of his since the time he was born into the world, he was doing duck style. You know what I'm saying, and he did
Yeah.
all the way up to 25, and You got into a fight with him. I believe he can fuck you up with duck style. I believe he'd run you through with his duck style. The same thing when you look at Khabib. Khabib was wrestling bears when he was little. So he gets in the ring, he mauls men. Look what he was doing. You know, you look at Mayweather. Mayweather was hitting speed bags at like 6 months. So his hard wiring of his brain seen boxing from that time all the way up to, you know, when he was beating people up in the ring. So that's work ethic. That's not the technique. That's conditioning. You know, so that's what really makes fighters.
Mayweather was also surrounded by pros in that level of boxing since he was knee high on a grasshopper, right? Like
exactly.
Like there's probably pictures of him 2 years old with like little itty bitty gloves on.
Yes, and you got to add on his family members were champions, so we're talking genetics too. You know, talking high level genetics. His father was a fighter, so you know it was genetics involved, but it was the conditioning that helps. You know, that's, you know, you look at the Tyson Fury fight with Deontay Wilder. The reason I say Deontay Wilder can never beat Tyson is Tyson was doing it since he was 6. Deontay Wilder started fighting when he was 19. There's a clear difference in that, and it's like trying to learn a second language when you're 40. You know how hard that shit is.
I know exactly.
When you're a baby, you know, when you're a baby, you can pick up like 8 different languages just by accident, just by being around it. You pick up the language, so that's when your mind is really grasping for, you know, information. So if you take somebody at that time and give them kung fu, boxing, wrestling, they're going to be animals when they get older, and that's what most people who do any system of martial art get caught up in the kung fu hustle, which is you can go to Krav Maga class Tuesday and Wednesdays and think when in real time you're ready. No, you're not. You're not. It's just a lie. It's all a lie. And most martial arts systems won't work for you because of that. You just don't have enough time to become efficient in them. It's just not enough time. And my teacher said that because I asked him that question. I was like, how come we don't see no more relevant kung fu men? Like, why is kung fu taking such a thrashing? And he said, you know, there's 2 things. There's one thing you need to become a good user of any fighting arts. One commodity you need. He said the commodity of time. So he said either you got to be extremely rich or extremely broke to become a good martial artist. And he's right, because both of those people have the commodity of time. So most people don't have that. So most arts won't work for them. And so, you know, I always get, you know, 52 doesn't seem to work. I bet your Wing Chun doesn't work for you. I bet I put some real pressure on you right now. You put your head down and go back to swinging like a girl. You know, so I guarantee it. And I've moved around to a couple of gyms, and I've seen it straight, you know, firsthand. Real pressure, that shit folds. You go back to what you used to doing. So it's just the time. And the people that it didn't fold on, the people that didn't fold in front of me, you know why they didn't fold? Because they were people that had the commodity of time. They were fighters that were training every day like me. So they weren't easy to push around. They were conditioned for this shit. So so to me, that's the thing. And, you know, a lot of us are caught in the kung fu hustle. So I don't think it's just 52 that needs to be put under that microscope. I think every art could be put under that microscope of does your shit really work? And if you're not really working, I can guarantee your martial art doesn't work. If you only got 2 days out of a week to train your martial art, I'm almost sure that when real pressure hits you, you're not going to perform correctly.
I'd say it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, I spent a stint of life working as a problem resolution specialist or a doorman at a nightclub, and I watched some fellas represent themselves as being knocking bullets out of the air with their dick and just hard as woodpecker lips. Mm-hmm. And then finally, these 2 guys, after they were done talking about fighting for 20 minutes, would fight, and I was like, you guys are way better talking about this than you were. Oh my. Right? Like, cause I was like I said, I grew up in a honky tonk, right? I was like, okay, big city fight. Let's see this. I was like, oh dear.
Oh dear. This is not what I thought.
Oh dear.
Well, that happened to 52. That like when 52, when I first dropped the video, we was riding a high because we was riding the fight fantasy. So everybody was like, "Oh my God, 52! You know, I'm selling DVDs hand over fist. I'm thinking I'm doing like 100 DVDs a month. It was an awesome fucking time." But we were in the fantasy stage. So now two of the guys that were doing a lot of talking, one of them brought in by me, Ramel Scott, and another one was the Constellation. They were jockeying for position of who was going to run 52. Me, I stayed out of those conversations. I just did my thing. But they must have been going at each other. So eventually they decided to meet up and they had a fight. Ramel fought Big K. And oh my God, it was the most terrible bullshit fight I had ever seen in my life. And immediately after the fight, my DVD sales plunged. I stopped selling DVDs. I think I was selling one DVD a month after that because the fantasy had been broken. People had looked like, oh my God, this is what 52 has to offer. Oh, that shit is bullshit. And they totally fell away. And understandable, but they just didn't understand. It wasn't 52 that failed. It was those two men that were trying to use 52 that failed 52. 52 did not fail. So then after that, I went on the mission of putting out a video every day to once again save 52 because I put the first video out to save it and I was doing well. And then those fools came along and fucked it up. So then I had to resuscitate 52. So once again, I went back into I took 52 back into the emergency room under the knife, and I resuscitated her and brought her back to life all the way up to now. From the damage.
If it's the video that I think you're talking about, I just watched it. Is it the one where the fella pulls out the dance of death? Is it this one? Yeah. So like from a whole marketing standpoint, that just made everyone associated look real bad. It just kind of sullied the reputation. It's like this is a bunch of people not behaving well, you know?
Exactly. And I did a video on it. I did a video. If you go back to my channel, I got like 3,000 videos. It'd be hard to find because I don't remember the name. But I did a video, and I said they both sucked. I said they looked terrible, and they all got mad at me. And then that's when they really started attacking me. And Giant from the bartenders challenged me to a fight, and I had to tell him that swinging around the bars is different from fighting. And that Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey circus shit y'all do is different from what I do. And I don't think that would be smart to challenge me because I fight for real, and you're probably there's a good chance you're going to get hurt facing someone like me.
Yeah, I mean, like it's what they're doing is impressive. What you're doing is impressive. They're just different.
Yes, and that's what I was explaining.
Your muscle up is probably not as good as his.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't mean muscle up, but my left hook I'm pretty sure he couldn't match my left hook.
It's probably legit. Right?
Yeah. And in the street fight, that muscle up is not going to has as much purpose as my left hook will have. So, that's why I was trying to tell him.
I would say that's a fair statement.
Yeah. That's not going to really serve you well. And he got it. Well, he got mad about it, and they kind of, they went on their attack spree, and of trying to shame me and they sent students down there. They sent Ramel sent two of his students to fight two of my students, and both times my students beat them up easily. So after a while, they just left me alone. Now they leave me alone. They try their best to not even mention me because they know I'm in the small way with all of the great training I have. I'm still very petty. So I have no problem, massacring somebody that wants to talk about me. I jump right in. Like they said, when they go low, you go high. Not me. When they go low, I take it to the flow.
Well, as we say up here, you can take the girl out of the trailer park, but you can't take the trailer park out of the girl.
That's right. I'm all trailer park. No matter how far I go, that trailer park is still in me, and he'll easily jump out on you. So, I just like to be real. I just like to keep it real.
That's fair. So from a lot of our audience has minimal exposure to 52. Just some of kind of what we've put out. And what is it about the 52 that's unique?
It's the only, and I've checked around, done a couple of martial arts. It's the only fighting system that says self-preservation first. It is the only fight system dedicated to saying, all right, we want to punch that man in the face, but we don't want him to punch us in our face. So how do we train to make it very hard for him to punch us in the face? That's 52 blocks. No other artist saying that. Every other artist saying, kill your opponent, kill him, break his neck, knock him out, kick him in the leg, rip his throat out, choke him out, submit him. So every other art is stepping outside of you. 52 blocks is the only art that says, hold on, before we fuck him up, let's make sure we in order. And then we're going to go and kill him. So to me, it's the only art that says that's really about self-preservation. Every other art brings you into the kill zone. Because even if I'm a boxer and I get into a fight, once I decide to punch you in the face, I'm in the kill zone. I'm in the kill zone. I can be knocked out too. Your most vulnerable moment is when you go to hit another man. You're at your most vulnerable. So every artist telling you that except for 52. 52 is saying, we're worried about him hitting us. We're not just thinking about punching him in the face. So through my travels, I've learned that offense is unnatural. Offense is a totally unnatural thing. Defense is very natural. Even without people learning 52, if I tried to hit you in your head, you would naturally try to block me by putting your arms or something in the way of that attack. And that's with no training. But who naturally punches, who naturally kicks right, who naturally wrestles right? You just don't naturally do those things to a high level. You do them terribly until you train them. So defense is kind of already in you. And it could be trained to be better too. That's what 52 is making that defense more scientific. That's already in you. But it's already in you to a good level that, you know, if somebody tries to hit you, you'll do something defensively to try to stop it. So that, to me, makes 52 blocks really the greatest art alive, because it's the only art that's really talking about you. You know, I remember when I was trying to learn Dim-Mak, I think that was Poison Hand, and I was in the doctor's office, and I had the book, you know, I think it was called Poison Fingers. He looked down at me, he said, why don't you learn how to heal people before you learn how to kill them? And that was a dope statement, he said. And that was a 52 block statement that he said. That's what 52 block says. Why don't you learn how not to get punched in the face before you learn how to punch a man in the face? So we, you know, I don't know. I'm not saying I made 52 to be greater than other arts. I didn't put it in that position, but I am saying I am a pragmatic man. I have very high intelligence. I think I'm like Trump. I'm a smart guy. I'm a smart guy. My best Donald Trump impression there. So I can see the elephant in the room. Defense is the true thing in fighting. You can win the fight through defense. It's better to be defensive because you can save you and your opponent a long day. So I'm going on record right now to say, yes, 52 blocks is the greatest martial art on this planet. And it's the art that everybody should learn. It should be an art that you learn first. Before you go out there trying to kick somebody's face off, you should learn how not to get your face kicked off. So
I would say that that the self-promotion definitely ties in line with your Trump analogy. That's excellent.
That's right. That's right. I'm never too shameful or shameless to plug my own brand.
Well, if you ain't gonna do it, probably no one else will. So how is it? So when we go through and we look at how 52 compares to other disciplines. And I had a fellow on a previous podcast in the comments talk about not judging 52 by European standards, which I don't really agree with. I think that every fighting art is judged on the standards of other fighting arts and whether it works. Yeah. So when we go through and we look at other arts, one that comes to mind about like move, hit, try not to get hit, is boxing and that sweet science. As far as you go and look at like a Prince Nassim, and some fellas that just had unreal defensive skills. Willie Pep,
that's right,
and went around boxing without throwing a punch.
That's right. Talk that talk.
So when we go through and we look at the defensive capability within boxing, you still feel the boxing doesn't address that, or the boxing is damage the other man, and that's the primary objective, and there's not enough focus on defense from the lens of 52.
Oh, of course, boxing doesn't address it. Look at all of the champions that left with Parkinson's and can barely talk. Like, I seen an interview with Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas the Hitman Hearns. Now, this is a good example. Sugar Ray was a highly defensive fighter. Thomas the Hitman Hearns, Hitman Hearns was the representative of offense. So they're having a conversation about their second fight. And I think it was Bert Sugar that said, "Hey, Sugar, so what were you thinking about when you was fighting Thomas?" And he said, "Man, boy, I was feeling real good. I trained very well for that fight, Bert, man. And I knew Thomas was going to be a strong man, so I was ready." And he said, and then Bert turned to Thomas and said, "Thomas, what was you thinking in that fight?" He said, "Baby, but you see the difference? Thomas couldn't even talk. He had took so many goddamn punches, he couldn't fucking talk. He was on his way out. He had took too much punishment, shaken brain syndrome. So yes, boxing doesn't address it enough either. You know, because in fighting, we have made the defensive man to be pussy. Oh, he's pussy. He's just running around. They said it about me. In all my sparring matches and me going to different places and challenging other arts, they said, "Oh, all Lyte does is run around." Well, should I stand there and let you kick my ass? Like, what the fuck are y'all thinking? Like, where have y'all got y'all fighting thoughts from? Like, you know what I'm saying? That's so
John Wayne movies. A lot of John Wayne movies.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. And that John Wayne shit it's over. It's over. No, I'm not going to stand there and let you kick my ass. That's not manly. That's not even smart. It's the same thing if we were shooting at each other. I wouldn't stand there and I'm ducking behind shit. I'm jumping behind barrels. You know what I'm saying? I'm rolling behind shit. I'm just not going to stand in the middle of the street and have a shootout with you. No, it's just not going to. It's not going to happen that way. You know?
I think that's a really good analogy.
Thank you. I use that one a lot.
Because I don't know how hard you can hit until it lands, and I don't know if I can handle that heat until it lands.
That's right.
I mean, you might be chucking muffins, and you might be chucking shot put. Like I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Until it hits. Exactly. And I'm not trying to find out too soon. Like, I'm going to find out through my defense. Like, a punch that goes over my head, like, oh my God, this guy's swinging with all this. I can feel the wind. I'm saying he's really trying to off me. You know, so defense can help you understand who you fighting. You know, I think Joe Rogan just said something on it, and I put it on my Instagram. He said, "Man, you want to win a fight? Just use defense. You sit there, you block, you let that man pitch his whole load. As soon as he gets tired, because that's what most people are going to do, you fuck him up. And that's it. That's smart. That is the use of defense. I will stand in front of you, making you miss, and watch you pitch your whole load at me because you're so upset and emotional. In 30 seconds in the fight, as my teacher said, I'm going to make you my bitch. 30 seconds into the fight, you're going to be my girlfriend. So, you know, there's a reason for defense. And it's been overlooked. It's the elephant in the room because ego overshadows defense. Most men fight from ego. Like I had a dude the other day talking about fighting. And he said, "Man, somebody do something to me, I'm just going to fuck them up." And I had to ask him, how you know you're going to fuck them up? Like when you trained this morning, like this guy doesn't even train. He wakes up eating donuts, looking on YouTube, but yet in his mind, he knows he has a victory. And that's the problem with fighting, is that it's too egotistical because men are egotistical in their nature. And they just believe because they say so, they're going to win the fight. No. Fighting is just like being a mechanic. You don't take your car to somebody that says he knows how to work on cars. You know what I'm saying? You take your car to the certified motherfucking professionals. Same thing with fighting. You know, it's a mechanic that needs to be learned. You just don't learn how to fight because you get angry and you got emotions. And that's what most men think, is that just because they can reach Hulkamaniac level that they can win the fight. And no, that doesn't give you the victory.
I think you touched on a really good point there. Especially for men with ego. Like just anyone listening, do a random survey, walk up to 5 of the most incapable people that you know, and just kind of poke around and find out how they think that they would do in kind of an altercation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let me know how many of them say that, you know what, I'd be helpless.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have
I'm gonna tell
like
you.
I wouldn't have a sniff.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I've done it. I have done that test. I've done the P test. You know what I found out? Most men are straight fucking liars. Out of 6 men, you're gonna get 6 men to say, "Oh no, I can win the fight." You know, I'm, I'll fuck that other guy up. On the majority, the only time that you get people that'll be honest, men that'll be honest, is usually the meeker men, the men that are not, men fall into 2 categories to me: alpha male and beta male. And I'm not disrespecting either brand, because everyone's needed. The beta males are more likely to say, "Yeah, I don't know how to fight." The alpha male mentality is going to lie, and they're going to go off for maybe they had a fight in high school that they won in 90 and 82. But as my teacher said, you're only as good as your last fight. So if your last fight was 82, you probably can't fight. You know what I'm saying? So
There's something called the Kruger-Dunning effect. And it basically, like, to sum it up, you don't know what you don't know, and it takes a certain amount of knowledge for you to know how absolutely little you know about this.
yes,
Right? Like I grew, like, my first fight was the second day of kindergarten. There's a bunch of things that I did growing up that later on were described to me as fights. I have 20 years of martial arts experience, and what I'll tell you is, I know for a fact that there are people out there that will make me feel like I'm 10 years old fighting my dad. I
yes,
100% know that. Um,
yes,
I I work, like, I go and I train at an MMA gym with pros. I travel around, and like guys that are fighting in the UFC or fought Shudo in Japan, or guys I touch hands with, I roll with them. And you know what? I've taken a lot of silvers, and some of them were to my sister when I was a kid. Right? The world is full of people that can beat my ass.
that's right. Same here. That's right.
But I know that
Right.
because I train. I
Yes.
also know that, like, there's lots of people that can't. But there's to be honest about one's capability, especially for a man, it's difficult. And a lot of those, back when we were, breaking rocks and digging ditches and, chucking bales and stuff like that on a regular basis. I mean, there was a certain amount of physicality that just existed in a man, in which his kinetic chains were working all together. And I mean, quite honestly, like if a guy's been chucking bales all summer and he hits you, it's a problem.
It's a problem. Yes.
It's a problem.
Yes. That's
Um,
conditioning. Yes. Yes.
and we don't have that, right? Like, someone playing Call of Duty or whatever, like whatever fighting game, it's not a thing. And we don't have that physicality anymore. Uh,
No.
like it
Well, we're
like I,
losing it
I
more.
I was working with a fella. He was 67 when he was retired. This old German fella, we called him Dino, and he was as tall as I am. And I mean, I'm 6'3", 6'4". This guy was still broad in the shoulders, and he had 15 to 30 seconds of hell in him that I don't think I could handle.
Mhm.
But, like, shaking his hand was like grabbing a mitt full of sausages, and, like, quite honestly, like, I wouldn't want to tangle with him. But if I had good defense, I could let the two three pump chump, whatever he is, kind of
Right.
like do that, exhaust himself, and be like, I'm really gonna hurt you if you don't stop.
Yeah.
And we
Yes.
have that opportunity.
Yes. Yes. Same thing with me. I believe I'm pretty good at what I do. But if you put me in with a high level boxing amateur right now, and we had to fight, and if it was like over a course of rounds, I'd probably lose. Like if I had to do it today, meaning I would need to like take off of everything I do. I would need like 2 or 3 months to prepare. So that's just being real, because that young man is doing it on an everyday basis. Every day. He waking up, he running his 5 miles, he eating his Wheaties, he's going to the gym. Me, I'm up, I wake up, I train people, I go pick up my daughter, I ride around. I'm saying I chill, So my life is not ready for that, and that's just being real. And when you come to fighting, a lot of people are just not real with themselves and their expectations of what they can do. Like I've had a guy ask me, "Yo, your defense is so good. I know if you sparred Mayweather, you'd fuck him up." I go, "Whoa, whoa, 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 no, whoa, 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 whoa. No, I will not. I will not land. If I land a glove on Mayweather, I'm set for life. I'm fucking because I'm going to build my whole career around that one punch. Even I know he's going to kick my ass, but I'm going to build my career like, yeah, he kicked my ass. But did you see the punch I landed though? I'm saying so.
Did you see when I kicked him in the shin? Did you see that?
Exactly. So it's like that.
I hope
You
the
have to
brain damage after that one's worth of marketing. Oh wow.
You have to be real with where you're at in the world of fighting. And I could take a lot of people, but the people I beat are the people who aren't matching up to my numbers of work ethic and what I'm doing on the daily grind. Not my technique like that. And that's, as you just said, the man, throwing bales of hay. You get hit by him, it's a different world. And it's not because of some technique, it's the conditioning. And that's what I've learned is that I'm beating people on conditioning now. And technique is like the after shadow. But my conditioning is first. Like I'm going to win off the fact that I do this every single day. And my brain is hardwired. Like I don't even think about blocking punches anymore. I could smell punches. And it's because I'm doing this so much. And that's the beauty of being what we are, sentient beings, like universal creatures. We have a power that we're not even tapping into. And so you start programming yourself in this way, and your body and mind takes over. Like I said, I don't look for punches anymore. I can just feel them. I can tell by a certain person's position what punch they're going to throw, and already I'm making a miss. So that's just the condition of ducking punches for the last 10 years. I'm saying I slip, duck, and block punches. So I'm very adept at when you're going to punch. I can see the wrinkles in your forehead when you're getting ready to punch.
Yeah.
I was this one guy I was sparring. Every time he got ready to punch, he said, so every time he did the fit thing, I just punched him in the face. I'm saying he couldn't understand how I knew, because that thing he was doing was so subconscious. He didn't even know he was doing it, and I'm looking at him doing it. And every time he fit, I just punch him in the face. And it was just easy.
Yeah,
money.
I mean, if a fella's trying to sneak in your bedroom with a marching band, you'll probably figure him out, right?
Exactly. But most people do it. And that's like how lie detectors catch most people, because there's a certain tick that you have that happens before you punch. We all do it. His was just so big. Like if you look at Mayweather, when Mayweather is getting ready to punch you, it's like his eyes get smaller, like they're focusing on something, and next you know he's zapping you. Me, if you look at my videos, when I'm ready to punch you, my eyes get like my eyes get bigger, and my lips do this funny poke out thing. And I don't know where I got it from, but it happens.
Just want to look all pouty and GQ.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pouty before I punch you in the face, but
ready
I see
for your shot on the cover of Source. I got you.
Yes, exactly. And if I fought Mayweather, he would see it too. And that's the things he would use against me. It's like his eyes get big every time he sees something. So
that fella would have your number in 15 seconds, right? Like, because that's his bread and butter, right?
Yes, but that's what makes the good guys good. They've seen so many people that they can detect the small things that happen in you before you move. Like even good jiu-jitsu players, like when you're on the ground rolling with them, they can detect the small, like your foot is out of place and now they got you. Your leverage is off just a little bit and they flip you over. So those are the people that really do it. They're into the minute changes. As one great coach said, small things, all things. When you become a master of small things, you become a very good fighter. And that's what happens to most good fighters. They become master of small things, and they always win.
What do you think the most common misunderstanding of 52 blocks is?
Oh, that you got to go to jail to learn it. That it was born in jail. I think that was one of the big misconceptions, the big myths, that guys in jail made it up. And no, it came from boxers, black boxers. 52 was introduced by black fighters, and because defense was introduced by black fighters, it came in by the way of boxing. And this is the reason why 52 blocks in boxing have been interlocked, because they came in, the principle of 52 came in with black boxers, which was defense. Hit, don't be hit, stick and move. All of those sayings come from black trainers. And it takes nothing away from white fighters. It's just that they were more into John Wayne in it, which was the man that kind of suffered through the fight, won. A good scar under your eye was a badge. It was a stripe. And in the black culture, that's not a stripe. We believe in trying to fight a fight with no damage. That is a black mentality, is that we want to look pretty in the fight. We want to leave the fight like we came in, like you didn't even scuff our shoes. You didn't mess up my hair and I knocked your ass out. That is a black mentality of fighting. So is there any surprise that we would have a system built on all defense, hand feints? Is that a surprise? No, that's what we brought to boxing. If it wasn't for us, boxing would have been outlawed. It was on its way to being outlawed. It became a sweet science when the other side of the coin came, which was defense. Offense was there. Bobby Fitzsimmons credited with not creating the solar plex punch. He didn't create it. He got it from a guy that did it, but he ended up calling it the solar plex punch, which went on to become the left hook, one of the most dangerous punches in fighting. So you can say that, white fighters brought in some of the strongest offense known to boxing, but black fighters brought in how do you deal with that offense? A crazy left hook. You have defense. And together, we made the sweet science that is now known today. And so that's why there is defense in boxing that looks that way, is because it came in with black fighters. All of the Willie Peps and all of those guys, they are all children of the great black fighters that started that. The Jack Johnsons, the Joe Gans, the George Dixons. I think it was George Dixon that had, when he fought and he went to the rope, white spectators would beat on his shins with billy clubs. So he became the only fighter that learned how to fight in tight circles in the ring. Because if he went
what
to
was
the
brother's name?
George Dixon. I think he was the first black champion before Jack Johnson. But if he leaned against the ropes, white spectators would beat on his shins. So he was known for fighting in tight circles, and it was because of that he learned to fight in this defensive tight circle thing that became like the circling in boxing. But he was doing it for nutrition because he wanted to survive. But it was those type of pressures that made black boxers who they are, and those are the things that were credited to creating 52. So, like I said, there's no surprise where 52 came from, but it wasn't born in jail.
One of the things from a lumberjack looking in that's fascinating about black culture, black American culture, is that there's a flamboyance to the masculinity that doesn't exist in white culture, right? So, like as an example, in white culture, dance and like flashy dress is not something that's seen, right? Where you go through and you look at, like, for the small amount of time that I've spent walking through the hood, there's a different flavor to it that's really unique. And I wonder, I'm interested in your opinion as to how much of the emphasis on dance and movement and that flamboyance is what created and is kind of made 52 what it is, and how it extrapolated from boxing versus the more traditional European, and by that I mean more Irish.
Well, I think that doesn't go into 52 more than it goes into black culture. You know, if you look at basketball, we don't just lay the ball up. You know what I'm saying? If you look at football, we don't just run the ball down the field. I think that's part of just black rhythm. Black people, the black culture has a rhythm. You know, this is seen. We have a rhythm that's strong. You know, a lot of music of today, you know, came from black culture. So the rhythmic fighting swag of the 52 is no different from anything else we do. Like anything you see a black man do, it's just an extra rhythmic thing to it, and it's not making the thing better. It doesn't. It's just what we do. Like, because you can lay up the ball in the court in the hoop, it's still a layup. You know, no matter if you do a spinning flip somersault, it's still a layup. But it's just that's how we do it. You know, we don't just lay it up, we lay it up. And so that's it trickles down into our fighting. Like, you know, black fighters been doing that same thing in boxing. The Archie Moore. Archie Moore used a shape in 52 blocks that we call rob the bank. He called the crab defense, and he had more knockouts than any other fighter ever. So and he had a swagger to him. So I don't think that's the actual fight system. More is that's just black culture. That anything
Moore
you
was
do.
like 130 some knockouts, wasn't it?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
just
Exactly.
you go through and you Wikipedia that, and it's like it's not that he holds it by like one or two. It's like a landslide.
It's a landslide. It's a landslide. It's a landslide, and it was because of his defense, that crab defense that he used, that made him such a force to deal with, and like I said, that to me is one of the clear examples of 52 that you could see from back then to now. And there's more, you know, there's way more. You know, Ezra Charles did the Skull and Bones, used elements of the Skull and Bones. The Philly Shell is another black defensive shape. So there's all types of elements of 52. The systemizing of 52 is really what I did. You know, it's 52. I think that was, to me, was one of the things that it was lacking, was a systematic way of teaching it, and that's what I introduced. It's been working. That would be my evolution of 52. Is if anything that I did to evolve 52 is I gave it a curriculum. I made it systematic. I made it. It wasn't just a man teaching you a trick that he knew. It was taking all of those tricks, different men that worked, and systemizing it so it can be taught to people in a curriculum way, to where they can gain muscle memory and then they could eventually use it. And my last 15 years of teaching 52 has proven that. You know, I've taught it to MMA men, I've taught it to boxers, I've taught it to regular people. You know, I got students now today that I can say that I'm with a lot of confidence that you're not just going to beat up a Burly. Like, anybody that's trained with me, I'm guaranteed they're going to give you a good run for your money. You know, win or lose. So, you know, it's working. It's working. You know, I'm the only person with an online 52 block course, and there's a reason for that, because none of the other guys know how to teach it. And I can say that with pretty much confidence, that most other 52 men don't know how to teach it because they have no curriculum. They're still going off the basis of what 52 used to be, which was slap boxing and picking up a knack from a certain man. But we talking about a full system. Who has that? There's only one person talking to him.
So
That's
within the way that you teach or you promote 52, do you promote it in the same way or teach in the same way that the boxing is taught in, that it's about kind of finding your own way, right? Here's the basic tools, here's your skull and bones, here's your rob the bank, here's your weather vane or whichever, but I want you to move like you. I just want you to kind of incorporate these concepts. You teach more like that, or is it very much, no, this is a paint by numbers, and you're doing this, and you're doing this, and you're only doing it that way?
what you say. Is it similar like the training boxing, or
Like, so do you is the emphasis of what you promote your 52 system to be? Is your goal to get people to move like them, right? So as an example, me being a tall, lanky fella, or are you going to try to get me to move the same way you would a fella who's 5'8", same weight, but just more compact, has different attributes, different personality? Is it about finding your personality, or is it about we want people to go through and follow this system to the T?
I would say to that, um, that goes into your teaching. Like I've learned that knowing 52, knowing 52, and being a teacher of 52 is different. So if you're a good teacher, that's what you do. You teach people within within their limits. Like I can't teach you to move like me. I can teach you the curriculum and the fundamentals, but you have to make it yours. And that's all arts. That's any discipline that you can never be like my teacher, Wilson Pitts. He's like 6 foot. He's also a white man.
I keep hearing you say Wilson Fisk like the kingpin, and
No,
I'm just
Wilson
like,
Pitts.
get like, I'm not buying it. Okay, I've read
No,
Marvel comic.
nah,
Wilson Pitt.
Wilson Pitts as in Pitts, Pitts. You can look him up. He has a channel on YouTube called One Room School. But yeah, he's 6 foot. He's 200 and something pounds. I can't move like Wilson, but he taught me how to move like myself, and that's what I do. I teach people how to move within their range. So you can't just uh, become me. You can't just learn my 52 and move like me. So like I said, I think that's more of a teaching thing that a teacher should a teacher should show you that. A teacher should want you to become him, but become yourself. So I teach people to train within their own limits, to understand within their own body types.
Okay, is there a place where kicking or grappling or anything like that is addressed? I watched that little brouhaha with the brother Ramel, and was that Big K?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you see a kick used. Now,
Mm-hmm.
from what I've seen in the 52 and like all the stuff I'm looking at, the kicking isn't that prevalent. Is there
No.
kicking in 52? Is there not kicking in 52?
Well, yeah. Well, there is and there isn't. There's two ways to answer. 52 blocks is a defensive system, all defensive. There is no offense to it. So your offense is always what you want to do. You can be a 52 block man and kick people. Be a 52 block man and wrestle them down and choke them out. You can be a 52 block man and punch. The offense, there's no offense that's relatable to 52. Like, oh, there's a 52 block kick. There's no such thing. That's all lies. And any teacher who tells you that, he's lying to you. There's no such thing. So because 52 blocks is all defensive, it leaves your offense open. So what you've seen with Ramel is, or the guy, whoever threw the kick, was that you can do what you want offensively. But the problem with that is what I encountered is he didn't know how to kick. So that shit was a terrible kick. So what you have to do is go get you still need to go train your offense. And that's what happened with me. When I met Wilson, I was doing 52 with haymaker punching. Like I didn't know boxing. He had to reset me. Like that's how girls punch. That's not how a man punches. So he had to teach me correct punching. So that's why my 52, when I block, I'm gonna hit you with a left hook, not a left haymaker. So it's totally different. And when I kick you, it's going to be a real kick because I've done Muay Thai, I've done Taekwondo. So when I skull and bones your punch and kick you, it's going to be a real kick. When I drag you to the ground and choke you, I've done collegiate wrestling, I've done some Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So I'm going to really choke the shit out of you. So, but that none of that has anything to do with 52. Mainly is that I've studied other disciplines of offense to kind of fit my 52 because my 52 is like a defensive jacket, but that I still need a shirt on. You know what I'm saying? Like I still need a shirt to go with my jacket. So 52, that's what makes 52 great. It's a exclusively defensive art, and anybody who tells you anything different, I guarantee you is lying. And if they say they're not lying, you can give them my number, and we can meet up and spar, and they can show me their 52 offense that I've never seen. I want to see a 52 punch that I've never seen, because I've seen quite a few ways to punch. So I'm really interested in seeing a 52 style punch, but I'm pretty sure I won't see it, because there are a lot of guys lying out there, and that's with all martial arts. I don't want to just put this on 52. There's liars in all arts. I've met a lot of Wing Chun liars. I've met a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu liars. Men are liars, so I've met a lot of them. So that takes nothing away from 52. That we have liars within our midst too. But there are a lot of 52 block liars saying, they learned their 52 in jail, or they got some 52 technique that's a secret. Like one guy told me this, another 52 guy. He said, "Lyte, you're doing the wrong thing by telling the world 52, because the 52 I learned, it can't be taught to nobody." And I said, "Well, how did you learn it?" You know what I'm saying? Fuck out of here. Fuck you mean? Like that's just like, once again, that's one of them crazy ass statements, is that it can't be taught. But how the hell did you learn it? So, and when you hear that, because I've had it, people have told me that I'm giving away the last of the black man's secret. That I'm giving away the last of the black man's secret. And my answer to that was, if 52 is the last of our secrets, then we fucked up. We ain't got nothing else in there. We don't know no magical shit. Like, we can't shoot fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no other magical secrets we got. Like, if 52 is our last secret, we fucked up. So I don't ascribe to none of that nonsense. And I'm glad that you're giving me this platform to say it. And I say it to all 52 block men that are full of shit. You're full of shit. And you need to stop it. You need to stop with the lies and tell the truth.
In fairness to the 52 community as a whole, some of the yarns that are being spun and the posturing, like it's got nothing on some of the Asian arts. I have Dan ranking in ninjutsu, and the guy who was the grandmaster before this one, they're like, "Oh yeah, he was 10 years old and fought 40 16-year-olds down by the docks." Yeah. Officially, 100%, that is not a thing.
Yes, true.
Like just in a pure conditioning standpoint, if they lined up, that is not a thing, right?
That's
like,
so
as far as a few fellas out there maybe overrepresenting themselves, it's pretty tame compared to some of the other stuff.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I definitely say that with all credibility, that with all sense of fairness, is that we have some liars. Not everybody is lying. People pick on 52 because of some of the inaccuracies. Like, it's not happening in no other art. And it's like, no, there's liars in Wing Chun. There's liars in every art. And like you just said, even Bruce Lee stories, most of Bruce Lee stories were lies. All of these fights he had, like, this shit was fucking fantasy. He had a couple. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't that serious. And people ran with it and he was fighting in alleys, fighting 15 men and all this other dumb shit. And we only got one video of him ever competing. So it's like, lies happen. And I'm just saying that to say that do not beat up on 52 because we got some inaccuracies. I think every art has a lot of inaccuracies. We're not the only one. So
the cult of Bruce Lee is absolutely fascinating to me.
Yes,
because
it grows.
What people seem to forget is Bruce Lee was so small the UFC doesn't have a weight class for him.
Exactly, and if he was in the UFC,
don't tell me that he would stand around with Yoel Romero. He just wouldn't.
Yes,
right. Like, it's not a thing. Yeah. Right. Like, he was so incredibly small. There is not a weight class for him.
Exactly. But if you say that now, people will attack you, and it's because it's conditioned.
Well, if they want to dig him up and get a necromancer and have him fight Yoel Romero, and he beats Yoel, I'll cook him steaks. You know what I mean? Or barbecue, or whatever they're into, right? Like, you let me know when that happens. But it wasn't a thing.
No, it wasn't.
Right? Like, it wasn't a thing, right? Sanchai would beat the brakes off him.
Yes.
And it's like, the majority of the things that like, oh, he was so philosophical. Yeah, he's citing Confucius, he's citing Taoism, right? Like
Hmm.
Bruce Lee is a completely manufactured personality, and I'm gonna get the comments full of this, the people who have some type of hard on for him, but like he was a
Well,
movie.
the Bruce Lee was manufactured, like the picture of him, but he
The,
was
the,
a
the
real
idea,
martial.
the
He
idea
was a real
around
martial
is,
artist, you
is a
know.
lot of marketing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah. Well,
88, right?
that
Could
was
he
the time.
fight? Yes. But
Yeah.
I mean, he was the Jean-Claude Van Damme of the 70s.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far. Jean Claude sniffing coke and shit. I wouldn't put Bruce Lee with Jean Claude. That's not a good comparison. I would say this. I would say his height was definitely overhyped. But one thing we can't take away from, he was a martial artist's martial artist for sure. His
Sure.
work ethic was real.
Hmm.
Um, his training was real. Um, could he beat most motherfuckers? Yes, 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 he could.
Oh, the
But
fella had skills. I'm just saying, like, let's be intellectually honest about it. If him and Kareem got into it, like for real, I'm probably gonna bet on the guy who's twice his weight.
well, yeah, that's weight class. I don't think anybody saying that is going off the fantasy of Bruce Lee, that Bruce Lee was so good he can beat anybody in their weight class. That's not true. But within his own weight class, I think he would have been a force. I believe if Bruce Lee came out in the MMA and there was a weight class for him, he would have been a force within his weight class, and not just because of his technique, because of his work ethic. That's what people are missing. Is techniques just don't fall out the sky and work for you. You have to have a supreme work ethic. And anybody with a supreme work ethic is an ass kicker. Period. Period. Michael Jordan, they said he shot 10,000 J's a night. That's supreme shit. Kobe Bryant, like their work ethics are supreme. The Bobby Fishers in chess, anybody whose work ethic reaches the level of just ridiculous, they will mess you up real good. And Bruce Lee's work ethic was ridiculous. So I take nothing away from him, but I do believe there's way too many fantasies about what he could have did and what he could achieve. But he was a real martial artist. His work ethic would have destroyed most people. And if Bruce Lee had the weight class of Yoel, if he was in Yoel's weight class with his work ethic, he would fuck Yoel up. I'm pretty sure of it. Because I'm betting on the man who's willing to work 23 hours out of the day on his craft. Any man who does that, I'm betting on him all the time. I ain't even got to see no pictures of him. All you got to do is show me, like, yo, this guy here, like, he trains 18 hours out of every day, and he's been doing it for 10 years. Who you putting your money on? Oh, my money on him. I ain't even need to see videos of what he did. My money on him. And that is what martial artists miss. No martial artist is magic. You don't just do Muay Thai and become some Muay Thai killer. No, Muay Thai is not going to make you good. You're going to make yourself good, and you're going to do that by training using Muay Thai as a backdrop, but putting in hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of training. You know what I'm saying? If you're not prepared to commit to 10,000 hours, then you're not really prepared to commit to training. And most people are not. They're doing martial arts like Sunday school. They're going 2 or 3 days out the week. You're not going to use that in the real fight. I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry to bust up the fantasies. And I've had a video before called Fantasy Killers. I'm sorry to bust up everybody's fantasy. But if you're not training at least 5 days out of a week on your so-called art, you probably suck at it. You probably suck. I'm sorry. And if you get in front of somebody like me, I'm gonna show you all of the holes in your game. And I've done that to karate men, Wing Chun men, you know. And the only men that give me problems are the men that match me for hours. And they're out there. I'm not the only man that's got mad hours under my belt. There's people out there with crazy work ethics. And that's the reason why if I got in front of Mayweather, he would probably beat the shit out of me. But if you let me fight someone like an Adrian Broner, who's off his work ethic, I got a good chance of taking his ass out. But anybody who's really on their work ethic, they're monsters. They're monsters, and I don't care what they do. A man who shovels shit for 15 hours out of the day, I'm pretty sure he is the king shit shoveler. You know what I'm saying? If he's
I
doing
like
that shit
that.
yeah,
I
if
like
he's
that.
doing it for 15 hours a day, you are not shoveling shit like him. He'll shovel. He'll take you under the table with shoveling shit. You can't even get close to what he can do because he does it 15 hours a day and he's been doing it. So that's the secret. That is the magic to all martial arts. If you want to become an extreme martial artist and if you want excellence within your so-called art, and you're listening to this interview right now, I'm going to give you the formula. And if you break away from the formula and get your ass kicked, then you're going to know why you got your ass kicked. If you want to be good at your art, you're going to need a minimum of 5 hours every day. And don't give me that shit. Oh, like I ain't got 5 hours in my day. That's your fault. I ain't got nothing to do with that. That sounds like a personal problem. Find 5 hours out of 24. Train your said art those 5 hours, and I guarantee you, in 6 months, you'll be whipping ass. I guarantee it. I fucking guarantee. I stand by it. You'll be whipping certain ass. Like there'll still be another level for you to reach because there's other monsters out there. But if you keep going with that mentality, 10 years from that time, you'll be a grand master ass whipper. I guarantee it. Most men won't be able to stand next to you. And if they do, they either have higher training than you or they got a lot of mass because you got to add that into the equation too. Like I got a student, Diamond Burly. He's 290 pounds. He can break my neck by accident. So how would I fight Diamond Burly? And people always ask me this about size. And I always give them this analogy. When you go to the zoo, what do you see? I'm asking you that question.
When I go to the zoo, what do I see?
Yeah, what do you see when you go to the zoo?
Bars that keep distance.
Yeah. Animals in cages, right?
Yep.
Animals that are bigger and stronger than us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how the hell did we get them in that cage?
Usually drugs.
Yeah, because we're smarter than them.
Yeah.
We invented those drugs that knock them out, meaning we're smarter than them. So that's the true gift of the art is that, when you're facing someone that's bigger, you have a brain. So if I have a brain and I've been training my 5 hours, I can actually beat someone who outweighs me. I can fight a person like Diamond Burly. If I had to fight my student Diamond Burly, I would wait till he got tired and then beat his ass. And since he's so big, he would pitch his low in about like a minute. So I would have to survive that first minute. If I survive that first minute, his ass is mine. But that's just strategically. But if I fought him with ego, like I'm just going to go beat him up because he's a man challenging me, then he'd probably kill me. So.
Yeah, fill your boots, kid. Right? Wow.
That's right. That's right.
So what about 52 sucks? Like where is it like this thing is lacking and needs work? Where is it 52 kind of falls apart in your mind?
It needs an offense. It needs an offense, and if you have a credible offense, then you can make it work. So I would say that's the downside to 52 is that it doesn't really come with its own offense. Like eventually you can learn to use the elbows, your elbow blocks become like elbow strikes. That can happen. But all in all, it needs an offense. So
So if I'm understanding that correctly, 52 blocks is something that it can be integrated into a wrestling game. It can be integrated into that boxing game.
Exactly.
So if someone's got, even a varsity level wrestling base, they can go through and they can use those covers to close that distance to work their game.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you give some examples? We talked about some boxers earlier, like the old mongoose there, Archie Moore. Who else do you think people could look up that they wanted to see an example of 52 being used proficiently in the ring?
Besides the old mongoose, you got Jersey Joe Walcott, you got Mayweather, you got You got one of our. He's probably one of our strongest. You got Pea Whitaker. You have Ezra Charles. Um, you have George Dixon. You got Joe Gans. You got Jack Johnson, who was during one of his first fights. A reporter filmed him. Said, "Look at young Jack Johnson catching all of the punches on his forearms and elbows, and using his blocks to set up counter strikes. A style up to that point they hadn't seen yet. Like nobody really had seen a style like that. So this, Jack Bowe is another one. Jack Bowe. Uh, anybody who's watching can go and anybody who's listening can go and check these things out or these people out. But all of those people did 52, and in elements. Like, see, when people want to go back and see and hear hear him say, "Yeah, I was just doing 52 in the ring." You're not going to hear that because the name 52 didn't come into like the 70s. But the principle of what 52 is high attention to defense. Has been used by many black boxers. So no, you're not going to see a boxer come out the ring and say I was using 52, except for Zab Judah, who used it against Mayweather in the recent fight. But you're not going to see too much of that. You're just going to see elements of it. But
did the Philly shell actually come out of Philadelphia? Because I've heard some some people say it did, some people say it didn't.
Some people didn't. Some people I've heard Michigan, but one thing's for sure: Philadelphia fighters definitely adopted it. I'm not too sure. I got to do more research. I've heard Philly. I've heard Michigan, but one thing for sure: the Michigan guys didn't adopt it as much as the Philly guys did. But why I would believe Michigan is because Mayweather is from Michigan, so maybe the Philly shell did originate in Michigan. I don't know, but I do know that Philly fighters made it famous. They used it to a higher level. They brought it to the public. So I think that's something I'm going to have to talk to the great Wilson Pitts about, where the Philly shell came from.
Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing that if you don't mind recording it.
Yeah, I'll ask him that question.
So, Lyte, what makes you so damn special? What is it that you're doing a 52 that no one else is doing, and who are you to do it? Right, that whole tall poppy syndrome thing.
One, I've evolved it. I've gave it a curriculum. That's what makes me special amongst other 52 block fighters. I gave it a curriculum, and then I battle tested my curriculum. I've left the country. I've been to dojos. I've sparred Mayweather's knockout artists. I've sparred a lot of good fighters on my path to testing it and making sure what I was putting out there was correct and battle tested. And I think that's what puts the feather in my hat is that I don't think I know for sure that no other 52 block man or practitioner or teacher is doing that right now. So so I would say that's the feather in my hat. While I'm Lyte Burly, and I kind of stand out from what other fighters are doing, and while my fighters stand out, they don't look like the other 52 block fighters. So yeah, I've made it learnable. Like I've made it, I systemized it. So now, everybody can learn it over a few people that may have had access to a good fighter that showed them some stuff. So I've brought it to the world. It's global. I like to believe that 52 blocks is global because of the work that I've done. And I'm gonna toot my own horn there, toot toot toot, and say that I did that. I just came back from Denmark, and I can tell you, them Denmark guys weren't trying to show me no quarter. They spent money to see if 52 was real, and if I wasn't ducking, they could have been picking me up off the floor. So, but I like that. I like people to really test me because I want them to walk away and say, yeah, no, we didn't just like throw fake punches at Lyte. You know, we tried to do it. We tried to do it. So you know, I'm the only one doing that. Name another 52 block guy that's doing that, and then I'll say, well, I'm not that special. So I'm special because of that. And so far, it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. It looks like the people that go on to really evolve 52 other than me is going to be my students. You know, right now I'm in the office of one of my students, Archie Burly, you know, already came with, you know, he already came with something, and now he's learning a 52 from me. So what he already has is going to be different. We're going to be doing 52 blocks push hands, like so. I think the people that are going to evolve 52 into the next level are the people that I've touched, and I guess that would sound kind of narcissistic or egotistical. I don't know, but I'm confident of that because I put in the work. So I'll say that with all.
Well, more than anyone else, you're definitely putting yourself out there, right?
Yes, definitely.
So
Yes.
sometimes that becomes a game of whack-a-mole.
Yes. Yes. They
But if
definitely tried to whack me.
nothing ventured, nothing gained, right?
That's right. That's right.
The world's full of people with the shoulda, woulda, coulda,
That's right.
but didn't because they wouldn't, kind of thing.
That's right.
If you go back in time, talk to a younger you, what piece of advice would you give you? We already talked about from a martial arts standpoint, like just put in the work. You want to be successful, outwork the other man. So we talked about that from a training standpoint. What would you say to the younger you?
What would I say to younger Lyte? Um, Train more. Train more. Like, you know, I was younger Lyte where I was more caught up in the fantasy of the arts. I was in love with Taekwondo and different arts and stuff like that. But I was caught up in the magic of it, like everybody else. So if I was to go back to younger Lyte, I would say tell him, start training 5 hours a day now. So by the time older Lyte comes in, shit, I'd be kicking the eye out of a butterfly. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be on some next level shit. Like, I'd be like Khabib. Like, my 52 would be unstoppable if I could tell younger Lyte to do what older Lyte did. So if I could get the younger Lyte, I would tell him, start that 5 hour shit now. No excuses. You got the time, buddy. And
then your offense will be the Haruken.
That's right. That's right. That's right. It's all conditioning. It's all conditioning. And I would tell younger Lyte to get on the journey then, instead of waiting until when I started my real path when I was 27. And I had other kung fu teachers, karate teachers, but I don't even count them as teachers anymore because they were so about themselves. My real teachers are Roberto Sharp and Wilson Pitts, and G Hove, who passed away from cancer, rest in peace. As far as 52 blocks, Ramel, he helped me a lot. He did, and I don't never want to discredit him and take him out the conversation. But I take him out the conversation because he tried to attack me. And he was a teacher that got jealous of the student and tried to remove the student. So I've slightly leave him out of my story now, but I'm not going to do that all the way. Is that, yeah, every Friday he came, we slapped box for hours. He gave me his time, so I appreciate that from him. But I'm not going to count him as a teacher. I'll just count him as like a sparring partner. My true teachers that that all reverence bow down to, if they came into town, I'd shut up and let them talk. Wilson Pitts, Roberto Sharp, and if G Hove could come back from the dead and talk, G Hove. So, those are the men I give credit to, and I think that can really affect your martial art path, is who becomes your teacher. And so, like I said, I started when I was 27. That's where I really feel. Even though I was doing Taekwondo, I went to military school, so I was into the arts a long time. But I don't count my real martial art journey beginning until I met Roberto Sharp, who led me to Wilson Pitts. And those two men right there made Lyte Burly. And without them, there would be no Lyte Burly. So I want to plug them. Roberto Sharp, you can find him on YouTube under Roberto Sharp, SHARPE. Wilson Pitts, 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 like the pit of despair. You can find him on YouTube under One Room School, or Wilson Pitts. Type in his name, all of his stuff will come up. He has a boxing blog that everybody in the world should check. He is the greatest teacher when it comes to teaching boxing. And I am saying that because he is my teacher and because he is great. And he trained with Joe Frazier, Georgie Benton, and them. He has a direct lineage to Georgie Benton. Many people who don't know who Georgie Benton is, he is the Hall of Fame coach who created Pea Whitaker. And my teacher, Wilson Pitts, used to sit feet away from him while he taught. And one story he gave me, not to keep this going on too long, but one story he gave me is that while he was sitting there learning from Georgie Benton, he had to go to the bathroom. And he said the lesson was so good, he'd rather piss on himself than get up and miss any information. And he said Georgie Benton had his back to him the whole time. He stopped training, turned around and said, "White boy, go use the bathroom. We'll wait for you." And he said he knew I had to go to the bathroom, and he didn't even look at me. That's how great he was. He said he ran and pissed and came back. So my teacher, Wilson Pitts, is from that direct lineage of Georgie Benton. So I am honored and blessed to carry on the teachings of Georgie Benton. And so look him up, Wilson Pitts. You can find him on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you want to find me, you can find me under Lyte Burly, 52 blocks at Hotmail, Lyte Burly, 52 at Yahoo. My YouTube channel is 52 Blocks Info. On Facebook, I'm going under the name Charlie Burly because I got into an argument with some Russians about the history of 52, and come to find out they were hackers that removed me off of the internet. They took down my Facebook and Instagram, and they will almost take down my YouTube if I didn't contact Google and get in contact with a lady named Jenny. And I want to give Jenny a shout out because Jenny helped save my YouTube page from these goddamn bastards who were trying to erase me off the internet. So thank you, Jenny. And so you can still find me on YouTube under 52 Blocks Info, Facebook, Charlie Burly, Lyte Burly 52 at Instagram. If you want to look me up, get me in contact. I even give out my phone number. I call it the block line, which is 347-816-5357. Even if you want to prank call me, I'm down for that shit too. Fuck it. You just want to call and prank me, I'm with it. You know what I'm saying?
Just be funny if you're gonna do it.
Yeah, just make the
all right, like funny. Have some original stuff.
Yeah, no swatting. Please don't send police to my area. You know what I'm saying? Like, send somebody to fight me, or you know what I'm saying? Like anything like that, I'm totally with. I'm not against that. But no crazy pranks. But other than that, if you want to text, talk the shit, shoot the breeze, shoot the shit, talk about 52, talk about why your wife is mad at you. I'm with all of that shit. I'm like Dr. Phil. So I'm with all of that. Just give me a call, reach out. And we want to thank our host who gave us this platform to rant and rave on, the man himself on the other side of the line. Thank you for giving me this platform to talk my shit and be Lyte Burly.
Pleasure, bro.
Thank you. And to be Lyte Burly. So, salute to you.
Last two questions I'm going to hit you with. 3 books you would recommend to somebody. Top 3 books.
3 books? Okay. I'm going to say 48 Laws of Power because I'm a lover of Robert Greene. I love Rob Greene.
He's got good stuff.
Yeah, he is the motherfucking man. Of course, you can't go wrong with The Art of War, Sun Tzu.
Okay,
and
classic.
Then, this is my 3rd one that most people ain't up on. The Book of 5 Rings with Musashi. If you ain't got the Book of 5 Rings, you ain't a martial artist. You're a jerk off. That's what I'm going to say right now. If you ain't got that book in your collection right now, you're a goddamn jerk off. Because Musashi breaks down martial arts in the way that businessmen are using in Fortune 500 companies. So 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene, Sun Tzu, The Art of War, and of course Musashi with the Book of 5 Rings. Bang. That's a killer. Killer formula. Right?
Last question, and then we're going to let you go. You've been generous with your time. What is the quote you find yourself reflecting on the most in the recent? Right, you got it written on your mirror. You got a screensaver on your phone. What do you find yourself reflecting on the most right now?
That's a good one. But I got one because I'm Lyte Burly, and I keep a lot I keep a lot of those.
Oh, here we
But
go. Okay.
I got one. I got one. This one is my top because I'm about to go to Georgia. I'm leaving New York, and I'm moving. I'm going down to ATL to teach 52 and open a school down there. And the saying that I've attributed to my move is, Jesus from Nazareth wasn't Jesus from Nazareth until he left Nazareth. Bam!
I like that. You're never a guru in your own land.
There you go. There you go. There you go. So that means, other words, step outside your comfort zone, people. If you're in a place where you're comfortable, you're not growing. You gotta step outside your comfort zone. So that is my quote of the century. I'm probably going to get it tattooed on my back or something. You know what I'm saying? I might even go Mike Tyson on the side of my cheek.
You get tattooed on your forehead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I might go Mike Tyson and go forehead to the cheek. You know what I'm saying? Like the scribble coming from the forehead going down, just so people can really see it. So yeah, that is my quote.
It'd be good. You two would have even more to talk about when you met.
Yes, me and Mike would have a lot to talk about. We're damaged souls that have found ourselves through the art of war. So I think we would have a lot to talk about. But yes, that is my quote of the century. Okay,
I just want to thank you for all your time, Lyte. I'll post those links where people can find you in the description below. Give them a follow. Give Lyte some love. And thanks a lot for everything. If you folks have any questions for the notorious, the man, the myth, the legend, the infamous Lyte Burly, or you just want to talk some shit, do it down in the comments below. He loves that. He loves it when he can't fight and he's a pussy.
That's right. I love that shit. I read all of the comments and I respond. I will call you a pussy too. I tell you, I'm so petty. Like
that's good because then you guys have something in common, right?
Yeah, I haven't reached the enlightened level yet. Like I'm still very petty. So please leave the good comments. I'll be right on that ass. And thank you for listening.